teaching us that you can sit back and complain about the AMC process, or you can understand it and work within it.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
This episode of the Appraiser Coach Podcast is sponsored by Alamode. Alamode, of course, is the residential software service that I use, have been for years and years and years, almost 3 decades. Check them out by going to alamode.com or call them at 800-ALAMODE. Of course, OREP Insurance is my E&O of choice, should be yours as well. They are insurance brokers, therefore they help you to find the best coverage at the best price. OREP.org, that's OREP.org. All right, folks, let me set this up and just say this is going to be one of those, I don't want to use the word controversial, but it's going to be probably one of those topics that's going to be a little more talked about than others. This is in response. And by the way, I do read the comments. They say, don't read the comments. I read the comments. Okay. And this comment comes specifically from a handle Coco Kono. And it is in response to episode number 979. That episode was, if you don't want to deal with AMC crap, listen to this. This is the episode, if you are a regular listener, that I talked about 2 conversations that I had, one with an AMC chief appraiser and another with an individual that just trying to bid out or send me an assignment. Didn't end up getting that assignment, if I remember correctly. Wasn't the point. The point is to dig a little bit deeper into the process that the AMCs go through when they're looking for appraisers, and specifically looking to assign a particular appraisal assignment to an individual. Now, let me start before I get in, and I'm going to read the comments in their entirety, but I want to respond not from my perspective, but from an AMC's perspective. So let me set the foundation. Okay. The purpose of episode 979 was no more than to educate. I do get a little tired. I was a little bit on a soapbox because I do get a little tired of the comments that I see and read online that are just wrong. And appraisers, I love you. You know that. That's my audience. Okay. I've been accused of being a shill for the AMCs. And I think I understand where that comes from. I have the luxury and privilege of knowing both appraisers and the other side, if you will. I've got a lot of friends who work in the other side of the industry as well. When I say other side, the AMC side, for example, or direct lender, what have you. And as much as I sympathize with what appraisers are going through, I also have a little bit of a view into the backside and understand that a lot of what we appraisers get frustrated about just simply is not true. Now, that doesn't change the frustration in the sense that we deal with what we deal with, but I think knowledge is power. And I think the more we understand, the more we know about a topic, the better we are to deal with it emotionally. Okay, so the purpose of today's episode is no more or less than to educate, to follow up with an episode, again, 979, where I talked about how AMCs really work. And then this individual, Coco Kono, who took it upon herself, and I happen to know that it's a her because you can look her up online. And I'm not trying to call her out in any way, but she was public in her comments, and so I'm going to be public in my response. And by the way, Coco Kono, I appreciate you reaching out. I do. I love these types of comments because it only helps narrate the conversation. right? And that's the way I'm looking at this. I don't have any ill will at all toward this individual, but some of the things this individual said just simply are not true. And I am not here to boost up the AMCs or to support them in any way. I'm here to educate my listenership, and my listenership happens to be appraisers. And I think we spend an exorbitant amount of time being frustrated with AMCs because what appears to be going on is not really going on. Okay. So let me lay the foundation. I do not do much with AMCs at all anymore. There are a couple of them that I will work for occasionally. And when I say occasionally, maybe 1 or 2 assignments a month. The vast majority of my work is with the Veterans Administration and private practice. Okay. And really, I could have stopped by saying the vast amount of my work is with the Veterans Administration. The VA is my client of choice, and most of the work that I do, and I have the luxury of not building up a big business anymore. I've got other things I'm working on. So to be fair, right, I understand that to make a living, a lot of you have to or choose to include AMCs in that process. Okay. And the purpose of today is to help educate, to understand a little bit about what's going on the backside. Okay. So I don't have a dog in the fight other than to educate here, right? I'm not trying to talk you into working with AMCs in any way. In fact, if anything, I'm going to try to talk you out of that, right? Get to the point where you're like me and you don't have to work for AMCs if you don't want to. Okay. The AMCs I work for are very specific A or A minus AMCs on my list. And they're AMCs I don't mind working for. Most of the bids, if you will, that I put out there are not accepted. And I'm okay with that. And it's not a burden to me to do the bidding. And that's some of what I talked about in 979. So if you are interested, I would highly recommend you listen, pause this, go to 979, listen to that first, and then come back. Because what has happened is I posted some information in 979. I got some comments, the one I'm going to focus on from Coco Kono today, and just help us to become educated. I will also say this. I started the program today by indicating that the comments today are not Dustin Harris. Sure, my flavor is included there, right? It's me saying that. But the information that I'm going to give you today comes from 2 sources, okay? Neither one will I reveal. I don't want to out these people. I don't want them to get hate mail. If you want to send hate mail, send it to me, okay? But I reached out to 2 individuals that I highly respect who are deeply embedded, if you will, in the AMC world. And I simply read the comments. In fact, on both occasions, I sent them the comments from Coco Kono. And I said, I would love to have a conversation with you about this completely. I have no dog in the fight. I just want to hear your results, okay? And so I have spoken to 2 individuals on the phone. I did not record the conversation. I wrote a few notes as I'm going through, so it's possible that I could misconstrue what they're saying a little bit, but I doubt it. The gist of what both of them said, and you'll not know which one it came from, not that I'm mentioning either one anyway, but some of the answers will come from one, some will come from another. But my point is that the answers today to Coco Kono are not Dustin Harris as much as they are the conversation that I had with people who are in AMCs. Now, some of you are gonna immediately put your guard up and say, well, of course they're gonna say that, Dustin. They're AMCs. What do you expect them to say? I get that. And certainly there's a built-in bias, right? But both of them knew that these would be anonymous comments. Both of them knew I was not going to out them. They were free to say whatever they need to say without fear of their job. Okay. And so with that as background, let's dig in to what Coco Kono has to say. But first, I want to pause and remind you that we're sponsored by a couple of great companies, meaning, well, OREP Insurance is one of them. I love OREP, folks. They support appraisers. First of all, you will not find a better price on your E&O. Why? Because they shop it around and they make it specific to your situation. What E&O will cost for one situation is going to be completely different for another situation. They get to know you through the application process, and then they shop around and find the best value for you. Check them out by going to their website, orep.org. That's OREP.org. I mentioned at the top of the program, I've been using a la mode for close to 30 years, folks. They've been in business for close to 40 years, maybe a little over 40 years at this point. And they are the star. when it comes to software for your report write-ups. They are software. They have bugs like anybody else, but you will not get better service, better quality from any other company out there. Check them out by going to alamode.com or pick up the phone and call them at 800 Alamode. Welcome back to the program. Smile on my face if you can see me. And by the way, I'm sporting a beard today, so check that out on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, this comment came in on YouTube. Okay, I'm going to read it in its entirety, and then I want to pick it apart a little bit and just answer from, again, the perspective of an AMC. This is in response to episode number 979. If you don't want to deal with AMC crap, listen to this. Coco Kono wrote in, regarding your tangent on fee bids, I totally disagree with your take that appraisers should accept the bid process because it is common practice for any profession. The difference here is the fee is already determined and paid out to the AMC from the lender. The AMC should only take their small portion, at most 15% of the fee, and the rest goes to the appraiser. No bid process, no waste of time. That was supposed to be the original role of the AMC, to facilitate the appraisal process and use appraisers on a rotational basis. But over time, AMCs decided more profit could be made to bleed the fee and use the lowest bidding appraisers. Quality be damned. Look to the EVA on how fees should be handled. No bidding, just assigned to the appraiser. Take it or leave it. Okay. Again, thank you, Coco Kono, for writing in, and I mean that respectfully. But you're just wrong in a lot of ways. Okay. So first of all, looking to the VA on how fees should be handled. Absolutely. I mentioned that is my number one client, and I love working for the VA. But let's take that one first. We're just going to work in backward order here. Okay. One thing about the VA is if you get a challenging assignment, which honestly is not very common, for whatever reason, the VA has, in my experience, pretty, there's no such thing as a cookie cutter in Wyoming and Idaho, but if you're going to label them cookie cutter, there's more in the VA than there is anywhere else. Okay. They pay well. And once in a while, I do get a difficult assignment, and it is very difficult, if not impossible, to ask for an increase in fee. I had one just recently that was a very high-end property and very challenging, and I tried to get a fee increase, and it did not happen. And it just is what it is. Now, my justification from a business perspective is that I get a little bit more than is my standard fee on every appraisal that I do. So if you add all that together and add it to the one that I didn't get a fee increase for, it evens out. If not, I come out ahead. Okay, so I'm not that worried when VA doesn't give me a fee increase. Okay, so I love the idea, Coco Kono, of look to the VA as to how fees should be handled. No bidding, just assigned to the appraiser. But do understand that there is a negative to that as well. Okay, when an assignment is unique enough that it justifies a higher fee, good luck. Okay, and again, I don't complain about that. I take the good with the bad. I overall am very happy working with the VA, but that is one of the negatives. Right? They have a set fee, and it is what it is, and there is no bidding, and getting a fee changed is going to be difficult, if not impossible. And so if you run into multiple unique properties, you could be on the backside of that, and that's a little bit challenging. Okay, but I do agree with what she's saying in the sense that VA sets a pretty good model. Okay, but again, a lot of these AMCs, and one of the individuals that I spoke to in preparation for this assignment, or this episode rather, was an individual who mentioned the VA. Okay, and basically talked about the fact that some of the ways that AMCs work is that they tend to get upside down. Right. One of the things that this individual said was that he could easily find 20 orders right now where the AMC is upside down or has razor thin margins, right? Because of their knowledge that it's a competitive market out there, right? And working with the AMC model doesn't always work. Many of the assignments that he does are very unique, right? And again, in Idaho and Wyoming, I would say that the majority of what I deal with is unique, but when it comes to the VA, that's not the case. And so it has worked out one way or the other. Okay. So it's just something to keep in mind, right? VA is a great indication of where, in my opinion, fees should be, but there you get the pros with the cons, right? The cons come with the pros, in other words, and I think you need to be aware of that. Okay, let's back up for just a second to the comment that Coco Kono on YouTube said. Okay, that was let me just read it specifically. Okay, that the AMC should only take a small portion, at most 15% of the fee. Okay, the rest goes to the appraiser. No bid process, no waste of time. It indicated that the original role of the AMC, the way she put it, is to facilitate the appraisal process and use appraisers on a rotational basis. Now, is it? Both of the individuals that I spoke to at AMCs scoffed at this. Now, in a respectful way. But folks, think about it for just a second. Okay, let me reread the sentence, and you tell me if you agree with Coco Kono. Okay, that was supposed to be the original role of the AMC. First of all, who determined that? What do you mean supposed to be? Who determined what the original role of the AMC? And by the way, AMCs existed before HVCC and Dodd-Frank, just FYI. Okay, lender service, ring a bell, LSI. Okay, that was supposed to be the original role of the AMC, according to who? And then she says, here's the original role of the AMC: to facilitate the appraisal process. Okay, I don't disagree with that part. And use appraisers on a rotational basis. Really? That's the role of an AMC, is to rotate without any determination of knowledge, of work ethic, of honesty, with ethics, with business sense. Folks, the very things that individuals like Coco Kono complain about, the very thing they're complaining about is now the thing that she's advocating, right? You want AMCs to rotate through appraisers on a rotational basis? Really? That's what you want? Because I have a feeling that actually isn't what you want. Okay? Both of the individuals that I spoke to this situation. Okay? Both of the people that I spoke to at AMCs indicated that is the very thing that people complain about. Meaning, they specifically, so let me back up for just a second. One of the complaints that I see from appraisers is the report card. Okay, they don't like the report card. They don't like that AMCs are sending them a report card saying what they did good and what they didn't do good. Okay, one person years ago said, it makes me feel like I'm in second grade again. Okay, my answer to that is, folks, why wouldn't you want a report card? Because otherwise it is simply a rotational basis. You got 5 appraisers on the panel and you get every 5th appraisal. Is that really what you want? Or do you think that a company should have some circumspect, some criteria when it comes to the individuals that they work with? In other words, appraisers complain that they're just a cog in the wheel. They're just a number that goes around and around on the roulette, and they hope that the ball lands on them so they can get the assignment. And on the other hand, they complain about the report card system. In other words, do you want them to determine whether you get the assignment based on the type of appraiser you are, or do you not? One of the individuals, and again, I'm paraphrasing this individual, but I spoke to him this morning, and his comment on this was, and again, paraphrasing, don't quote me, but the paraphrase was, Dustin, we spend an exorbitant amount of time looking at the quality of work for appraisers. We don't want to send crap work to our clients. If our role is to facilitate the appraisal process and we constantly send crappy reports to our clients, how long are we going to be in business? The very reason that appraisers get upset with AMCs, and well, they're so picky, they do this and revision requests and is the thing that can save your butt. I've told on this program before about the day that I was saved by an AMC, and it's been more than once, but the most obvious one was when I got a revision request that said, please indicate the value. I had forgotten to put the damn value on the report, folks. Can you imagine if I had sent that report in to the client like that? Thank goodness for an AMC who was vigilant and saw that, whether it was a computer or a human being, doesn't matter. They caught it before the client caught it. They caught it before it was sent to the bank. So in a very real sense, an AMC can be another set of eyes to help you to improve your business and your work product before it gets sent to the client. Okay. I want to wrap things up, but I want to just touch on a couple of other things that Coco Kono said that I think are important. Okay. So she says the difference here is the fee is already determined and paid out to the AMC from the lender. It's not up to the AMC to determine how much an appraiser gets for a particular assignment. It's only up to them how much they take. Folks, this is false, false, and false. It just is. Now, is there some truth to it? Yes. Okay. The TRID process, TRID, okay, that every appraiser should be aware of. The TRID process indicates that the borrower needs to know the cost up front. Okay. Whether that happens before or after, right, is the TRID process. That's not something that an AMC can help. But both AMC people that I spoke to, okay, that had no skin in the game. I'm not going to reveal what company they're with. I'm not going to reveal who they are. In other words, they don't have any reason to lie to me. Both of them indicated that this is blatantly wrong. It is not a situation that's been described by Coco Kono where a bank goes to an AMC and says, okay, I'm willing to pay $600 to get an appraisal done. And then the AMC turns around and says, okay, what's the least amount of money that I can pay an appraiser so that I can pocket all the rest? That is not how this works, folks. An AMC advocates with the appraiser to understand the uniqueness of the assignment. Okay, the bidding that people complain about, and I talked about this in episode 979, the bidding that appraisers complain about is the second choice typically. Okay, as one AMC chief appraiser explained it to me, Dustin, we send this out to 2, 3, 4, 5 appraisers first and have been denied 5 times before we ever send it out to bid. And he also added, most people think that a bid means I'm sending it to 100 appraisers and the first one to bid the lowest gets it. He said that it could not be further from the truth. Typically, when a bid goes out, it goes out to another 3 or 4 appraisers. I've already tried multiple appraisers, and to save time, I said, okay, fine. We're just going to blast it out to the remaining 3 or 4 out there and see if one of them will pick it up. But he says part of that is education on our side. We don't always know what the situation is. You see these things get posted all the time on social media where they'll post the bid and it'll have the address and it'll have the fee, 123 any street, and it'll say, a fee of $700, and then they will just blast us. That's a joke. This is a $12 million property. What are they thinking? This is criminal. Folks, the AMC doesn't always know what you know. That's why they're reaching. They might as well do the appraisal themselves if they know the market so well. Part of the bidding process is for education on the AMC side. So don't just bid, pick up the phone and talk to them. One of the individuals said the most valuable thing to an AMC is when we send out a bid and one of those appraisers picks up the phone and says, hey, Susan, I just got this bid. Can I help you to understand the uniqueness of this property before I tell you what my bid is going to be? By the way, when I had episode 979, that's exactly what happened with that individual. I can't remember his name now. It was an education helping him to understand why my fee was so large. Actually, I do think we did end up getting that one now that I come to think of it. After the education, they better understand what is going on. Folks, in the end, first of all, thank you, Coco Kono, for your comments. I welcome constructive criticism. I do. And this was done in a respectful way. I'm not in any way criticizing Coco Kono. I'm praising this individual for having the guts to say something. Thank you. It helps to educate the entire populace. But in the end, folks, we are ignorant sometimes of the process that goes on behind the scenes. And we get upset at things that we don't need to get upset about if we further understand. And not only that, folks, but if you understand how an AMC works, you can now work with the AMC. One of the things that we did in our VIP Mastermind in Paradise in Hawaii in January was we had an individual speak to us, to the group, and this individual does over $1 million per year, and 90 plus percent of his business is with AMCs. And he spent a little over an hour educating us and teaching us how to deal with AMCs and teaching us that you can sit back and complain about the AMC process, or you can understand it and work within it. And that's what he chooses to do. Again, folks, this is not an encouragement to work with AMCs. I don't care. I get zero out of that. People say I'm a shill for the AMCs. Really, what am I getting from it? I really would want to know. Please answer me. What do I get from, quote unquote, promoting AMCs? I'm not promoting AMCs. I don't work with AMCs for the most part. I used to. I built a very, very productive and profitable business working with AMCs. But that's kind of the point. If you choose to deal with AMCs, if you choose to work with AMCs, understand how they work. Understand what the bidding process is. Understand how the fees work. The bank is not giving them a set fee and then they try to get the lowest paying appraiser so they can pocket the most money. That is not what's going on. Now, maybe a few AMCs out there, but guess what? I don't choose to work with them. The more you know, right? The more you know about this process, the better business person you can be. Thank you. I welcome your comments, folks. Thank you for joining me, and go create some value.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.